In the year 800, as the first millennium drew near, the island of Britain stood as a patchwork of ambitious kingdoms, forged from the ashes of Roman glory and tempered by centuries of migration and faith. The Anglo-Saxons, descendants of warriors who had crossed the North Sea generations before, now ruled lands stretching from the rugged coasts of Cornwall to the windswept moors of Northumbria. 7 realms vied for dominance: Wessex in the southwest, Mercia in the heartlands, Northumbria in the north, East Anglia, Kent, Sussex and Essex. Christianity had taken deep root, its monasteries glowing with illuminated manuscripts and whispered prayers, a beacon amid the encroaching wilds. Yet peace was fragile, shadowed by the vast Carolingian Empire to the east, where Charlemagne had just been crowned Holy Roman Emperor in Rome, his realm a colossus of learning and law that sent ripples across the channel through scholars, pilgrims and envoys. From this continental powerhouse came inspiration and alliance. Anglo-Saxon kings dispatched treasures, gold, silver and relics to Charlemagne's court, seeking favor and protection. In return, Frankish scribes carried Carolingian reforms to English scriptoria, refining the very letters in which chronicles would one day record these turbulent times. One such exile, a young noble named Egbert, son of the Under-King of Kent, found refuge in Charlemagne's halls during the 780s, honing his ambitions amid the emperor's glittering assemblies. Little did he know that this continental sojourn would steel him for the throne that awaited. By 802, Egbert claimed the crown of Wessex, his homeland's ancient heart. His early years were a forge of conflict. Mercia, under the iron-fisted Beornwulf, loomed as the preeminent power, its overlords extracting tribute from lesser realms like a spider spinning webs across southern England. Egbert's accession sparked immediate defiance. Mercian forces under the Whigi tribe struck at once, but Wessex warriors repelled them, slaying the attackers in a clash that echoed through the Downs. For 2 decades, Egbert consolidated quietly, raiding the British holdouts in Dumnonia, modern Cornwall, in 815, scorching villages and asserting West Saxon might over the Celtic West. These were years of uneasy balance, where Mercian hegemony choked the south, but whispers of Frankish support emboldened Egbert's court. The turning point came in 825 at the Battle of Ellandun, near modern Swindon. Beornwulf of Mercia marched to crush this upstart, his army a tide of spears and shields. Egbert met them on open fields, his lines holding firm through the clamour of iron and shouts. As Mercian ranks shattered, Beornwulf fled, his dreams of empire broken. In the aftermath, Egbert swept through the southeast like a gathering storm. He seized Kent, Sussex, Surrey and Essex, deposing puppet kings and installing his son Ethelwulf as sub-regent. These conquests were no mere land grabs. They unified the south under Wessex's banner, channeling trade from Thames ports and securing vital grain from fertile fields. Egbert's realm swelled, its mints churning silver pennies stamped with his likeness, symbols of a burgeoning power. Emboldened, Egbert turned north in 899. He invaded Mercia itself, driving King Wiglaf into exile and claiming the throne at Tamworth. At Dorey, on the Mercian-Northumbrian border, the King of Northumbria knelt in submission, acknowledging Egbert as Bretwalda, wide ruler over all southern peoples. For a fleeting moment, Britain glimpsed unity, a shadow of the imperial dreams stirring in Carolingian frontier. Egbert pressed west too, leading expeditions into Wales in 830, extracting oaths from chieftains whose hill forts dotted the Severn Valley. Though Mercia clawed back independence that same year under Wiglaf's return, Egbert retained his southeastern gains, forging a West Saxon imperium that stretched from the Channel to the Welsh Marches. Across the North Sea, however, storm clouds brewed. In Scandinavia, longships carved from oak and dragon proud were multiplying, driven by overpopulation, harsh winters, and tales of southern wealth carried home by traders. The Vikings, Norsemen from Norway, and Danes from Jutland had probed Britain's edges since the 790s, sacking the holy isle of Lindisfarne in 793, a desecration that Alcuin of York decried as divine wrath. Raids on Iona in 795 and 802 followed, slaying monks and scattering relics, but these were harbingers, not tempests. By the 830s, as Louis the Pious, Charlemagne's son, struggled to hold his fractured empire against rebellious sons and Slavic incursions, Viking fleets grew bolder, slipping through distracted Frankish patrols to strike undefended shores. The first thunderclap hit southern England in 835. 35 dragon ships beached on the Isle of Sheppey in Kent's tidal marshes. Viking warriors, axes gleaming and shields locked, torched villages and monasteries, vanishing with slaves and silver before Wessex could muster. Egbert responded with fury, but the raiders had tasted easy plunder. The following year, 836, brought worse. Another fleet, 33 strong, landed at Carhampton in Somerset's coastal marshes. Egbert marched his fyrd, the levied host of freemen and thanes, to confront them. The battle raged through salt flats and dunes, West Saxon spears clashing against Norse swords. Yet the Vikings held, their shield walls unyielding, forcing Egbert into a humiliating retreat. It was a grim lesson. These were no mere pirates, but disciplined reavers who fought as fiercely on land as sea. Undeterred, the Vikings allied with old foes in 838. Danish ships ferried warriors to Cornwall, where Dumnonian Britons, Celtic holdouts chafing under Saxon rule, joined them in rebellion. Together they ravaged Devon, sacking farms and shrines in a bid to carve out western freedom. Egbert, ever the strategist, shadowed their path through Devon's tors and valleys. At Hingston Down, near Tamar's Crossing, he cornered them. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle paints a scene of slaughter, Wessex ealdormen charging with boar-crested helms, felling Vikings and Britons alike in a melee of bloodied heather. Victory secured, Dumnonia's independence shattered forever, folded into Wessex's embrace. Egbert returned to Winchester a hero, his realm a bastion against the pagan tide. Yet triumph was bittersweet. In 839, as autumn mists cloaked the chalk hills, Egbert fell ill and died at the royal estate of Winchester. He was buried in the New Minster, his epitaph lauding him as the first to rule all Albion since the Romans. His son Ethelwulf inherited a kingdom vast but vigilant, its borders etched with fresh scars. The Vikings, undaunted, struck again in 840 at Southampton and Carhampton. 33 ships overwhelming Ethelwulf's forces in another coastal rout. Farther north, they toppled Pictish kings, slaying Owain and Bran in brutal ambushes, destabilizing alliances that once buffered Britain from the north. From Britain's vantage, this half-century was a crucible. Egbert's conquest had knit the south into a resilient whole, its laws and churches echoing Carolingian grandeur, reformed liturgies, grander cathedrals, and a flowering of vernacular poetry that would birth Beowulf's epic strains. Trade boomed along the Channel, Frankish silks mingling with English wool in bustling emporia. But the Viking shadow loomed largest, an existential trial that tested Christian resolve and forged national identity. Monasteries, once serene repositories of lore, now manned watchtowers. Kings drilled fyrds year-round, their halls ringing with sagas of defiance. As the Carolingian Empire splintered under Louis's heirs in 840, its distractions only fueled Norse daring, portending greater storms. In these decades, Britain glimpsed its destiny, not as divided tribes, but as a people tempered by invasion and ambition. Egbert's legacy endured in Wessex's unbowed spine, a foundation for sons like Alfred, who would one day repel the dragon ships for good. The year 850 dawned on a land forever changed. Scarred, yes, but unbreakable.